Oh, I'm Preparedness. Him? That's Disaster. He doesn't have too much to say. He's been hanging around more and more, although he's usually not this easy to spot. He's a busy guy. He's always up to something. You know, he's taught me a few lessons, like if you know when and where he'll show up, it's easier to take action. But it's those unexpected visits that do the most damage. And that's normally how he works. It's not like he's in the habit of calling ahead.
Hey, Disaster here. Yeah, I was wondering if you're available for a chemical spill. Wednesday, maybe 1 o'clock? No? No good? Oh, I got a new thing I'm bringing in. Earthquakes. You'll love it. I'm shipping them in from the West Coast. No?
Dan, it's not like he's always there, constantly reminding you to be prepared and to get ready. If he were this annoying, I'm sure you'd be ready for him. But being ready for disaster, well, that's your responsibility. I mean, you go to great lengths to get yourself ready for far less serious threats. It's a good look for you. Disaster is always out there, plotting everything from tornadoes to terrorist attacks to who knows what. But there are a few simple steps you can take to keep him in his place. Have an emergency kit, keep it stocked, and know exactly where it is. Have an emergency plan and share it with your family, your friends, and your neighbors. And know the potential threats in your area. And be prepared with at least a couple of ways to stay informed. Sure, he looks big and scary, and you can't stop him from showing up. But take it from Preparedness. You and your family can handle whatever disaster dishes out. Have a kit, make a plan, and stay informed.
All right, we out here at this game, Minnesota Twins. We got some fantastic seats. I want you guys to see this. All right, so you may not be able to get the gist of where we are unless we show you how close we are to this goddamn billboard. It's freaking incredible though. All right, with absolutely nothing to do with baseball, on a scale of 1 to 10, Son Gonzalez, how prepared are you for an earthquake?
1.5. I got a couple of bottles of water in the house. I got extra batteries, some flashlights. That's about as far as we go, though.
Oh, jeez. All right. So let's go over here to Son Crush. I know this guy's got a little more prepared than that. How prepared are you, Son Crush?
Let's see. I got a full med pack with tourniquets, gurney. I've got about 15 gallons of water.
Nice.
A couple DeWalt batteries with flashlights. A bunch of double A's.
All right, you're at about 4. You're at about 4.
I got a couple extra cans of fuel if I need it for gas.
4.5.
And then I pretty much have my whole entire military kit of every little nook, grab, and whatever.
All right, excellent.
So, I'm all right, I guess. We'll find out one day.
All right, you guys enjoy the game.
Good afternoon. I'm Captain Esteban Lopez of the 1394th Transportation Brigade, and I'm going to talk about being prepared for a major event. Let's say, where I come from, an earthquake. It's good to have a plan. If you're at work and your family's at home, you have to have a plan to how you're going to react to that, because most likely communications are going to be down like the electricity, so you won't be able to call them and reassure them that you're going to be okay. So you got to have a rallying point. That may be one of the things that you may do in your planning. If you have a plan, what it also does, it builds confidence that you know that your family's going to be okay, because they'll know how to react. Last but not least, before you start your plans is to be informed. Where I come from, earthquakes, not so much rain, but earthquakes are a primary one. San Diego area, you got the earthquakes. You may deal with a tsunami, or you may deal with the fires. So you have to keep those things in consideration as to how you're going to make a plan to keep your family safe in an event that they find themselves away from the house, or while they're at house and you're at work, and how are you going to get back to them.
What to do about our old friend Disaster? Well, he's always around, plotting, planning, waiting. I wish I had a magic wand so I could just poof, make him disappear. But I don't. Hey. But there are things that you can do to be ready for him. Things that can lessen his impact on your life. Keep his mayhem to a minimum. First, have an emergency supply kit in your home. For the first 72 hours, Disaster can wreak havoc on power, communications, and even the ability for emergency personnel to respond to an overwhelming amount of calls. But you can be ready.
I'm not talking about a fully stocked bomb shelter.
Or a big expensive stockpile of anything, hey, and everything. Hey, what are we missing? But what I am talking about is a simple, thought-out collection of things that you know you're gonna need to make it through the first 72 hours after an emergency or a disaster. Important things like water, 1 gallon per person per day. Food, hey, you gotta eat, right? Flashlights with extra batteries. Copies of important papers with things like insurance, prescriptions, and phone numbers. And a couple of ways to keep in touch with important information, like a battery-powered all-hazards radio. Now, put it all in a safe place where everybody knows where it is, and have a plan in place on how to use it. There are countless ways to put together your emergency kit. The only wrong way is to have no kit at all.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Disaster.
Disaster who? Hey, it's no joke. The time you take now can keep your family safe and comfortable when disaster does come knocking. And having an emergency kit in place can minimize disaster's impact and make recovery quicker and easier. Hey, for more information on how to build your kit, visit preparemetrokc.org. And do it now, before disaster's knocking at your door.
We just gonna finish the conversation. Like I was telling them, September is National Preparedness Month. So I was asking, what do you do to prepare for the game? You was gonna tell me about.
Well, no, it's a lot that goes into preparing for a game.
Okay.
It's film study.
Right.
Then you got to go out and practice what you're about to do on Sundays. It doesn't just happen on Sundays. There's a lot of things that go into it.
Okay.
Knowing the coverages that you're going to see, knowing how to attack those, and then the timing with the quarterback. So that's all key in.
That's definitely key, time with the quarterback. We've seen that a lot in preseason this year, not having the timing. Phillip Rivers thankfully looks really good this year. How you think Phillip Rivers prepares for the game?
A lot of film.
A lot of film.
Because he's one of the smartest quarterbacks in the league, and that doesn't just happen.
Right. No,
you got to prepare for that, and he does a great job of that. So we're in good hands with Phillip.
All right. Hey, I appreciate your time. No problem. All right. Thank you. And September is being National Preparedness Month. So what do you do to prepare yourself to go out and ensure a big game?
I make sure that through my preparation, I'm always visualizing myself in the game, making plays.
Okay.
I always try to make sure that my practices are at a pace where when the game comes, it's slow.
Exactly.
Yeah, I try to make sure that I work my mind as much as I'm working my body.
Okay.
So, that's it.
All right, that's the only question I got, sir, brother. I appreciate it.
Who remembers the great blackout of 2011 in San Diego County? Raise your hands. I remember that day. I remember driving on the 78. I was going to Westfield Mall and noticing that the traffic lights were out. So I was like, I guess the lights or the traffic's out. The lights are out in this area. Electricity's down. So we'll just go up to the next exit where Kohl's is at. I get up to the next exit and those lights are out too. And I'm like, what's going on? And so, I get back to Camp Pendleton, get to the house, and I'm listening to the news in the truck because the power's out on Camp Pendleton as well. So I'm listening to the news in the truck, and they're saying how there's no gas, the gas stations are down, everything, hospitals are down, anything and everything was just done, it was down. And, as it started, hours started going by, then you start to take inventory and think, what do I have in the house? And what I realized is I didn't have a lot. I had a gas grill and I had plenty of frozen food and meats and stuff like that, but I didn't have any propane. I didn't have water, I had the bottles of water that were in the house, but I didn't have the gallons of water that I would probably need to sustain myself and my family for an extended period of time. It brought fear, because you're wondering, how am I going to survive? I had a quarter tank of gas in the tank. Food, I had some canned goods. We probably could have survived for a few days easily, but then it starts to become a struggle. I remember looking and listening to the news and looking at the news after the fact and seeing people already starting looting. It was a few hours. So imagine if that particular event were to extend on for days, for weeks, how quickly society breaks down. So this whole month of preparedness is here to help you to start thinking about these things now.
Sometimes when disasters at work, it's hard to hear and sort out information.
Disaster's good at knocking out communication we rely on every day, like your cell phone, your landline, your laptop. You wouldn't. Even your television. But during a disaster of any kind, information is critical in keeping you and your family safe. So, be sure to have your communication plan before disaster visits. Have an emergency supply kit and know where it is. And make sure that it includes a backup source of information, like a NOAA All Hazards radio and plenty of extra batteries. And it's also important to include contact numbers, both local emergency numbers and contact information for friends and relatives. Print them out because your cell phone contact list is worthless if disaster zaps the power grid. And be prepared to gather information all the way through the disaster event. Hey, it's not all clear until you hear an official all clear. Beyond that, talk with your family, your neighbors, your entire community. Know their plans and know how to communicate in the critical times just before and after disaster calls. And in any disaster, there's strength in the numbers of your community and their plan for disaster response. When disaster visits, there can be a lot of noise, including the chatter of misinformation. Disaster might be all over social media, but you want to make sure that the information is relevant to you and your situation and is coming from a reliable source. Don't let disaster leave you in the dark or out of the information loop. Make an emergency kit and have a plan before disaster visits, and be prepared to stay informed. Information and communication are the keys to keep disaster from getting the last word.
Look up.
Go to preparemetrokc.org for more information.
All right, so we're here closing up the G4 conference out here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I'm here with Mr. Heller, and we're going to talk about National Preparedness Month. So he's over in Alabama or Birmingham, and we want to know what he does to prepare himself and his family in the event of some unfortunate event. Yeah. Like, what do you have out in Alabama?
Well, I keep 3 gas masks in my house, But I'm a CBurn guy and TPU side, so I just happen to have them from the CBurn. So if there was a gas attack, I would have them for me and my wife.
Right.
My animals would be out of luck, but I also have plenty of bottled water.
Okay.
I also carry plenty of alternate means of heat. I have 2 kerosene heaters that are fuel generated. I have a generator that I can use for electricity, and I have gas and stuff that I keep on hand. Probably mostly because I use it for lawn mowing and all my other fun toys that I have. But I do have plenty of gas that I could probably survive on with having electricity for at least a few days. So.
Preparing for disaster is a little like a chess game. Granted, it's a game with some serious and potentially deadly consequences. You never know what move he's going to make next. Severe weather, industrial chemical spills, floods, earthquakes. He's even working on some things I can't even imagine. The most important thing to remember is that he will have a next move.
My tornado takes your power grid.
Your strategy? Be prepared for whatever he throws at you. Nice move. Start by knowing all the risks in your area and be ready for them on a large scale. It's one thing to lose power for a few hours, but what if disaster's really on his gate and he shuts down the whole grid? Phone lines, power, your cell phone, for days. Second, be prepared. When disaster does make his move, time can be critical. Your response needs to be quick, and seconds matter. The time you take now to prepare can keep disaster from making a play that could compromise your safety. So, stay informed. Keep your eye on the entire game board. Have a trusted source and have a backup. Know what threats are real and headed your way, and be prepared to track information all the way through disaster to the all clear. And remember that disaster doesn't always play by the rules that we know. Prepare for the unexpected? Well, it can sound like playing a game with infinite possibilities. But if you know the rules and you follow some simple steps now, disaster's chances of winning? Check. Aren't nearly so great. So right now, talk with your family about a strategy for disaster preparedness. Make a kit, have a plan, and stay informed. And go to preparemetrokc.org. You better get your game on, because disaster, checkmate, is notoriously a very bad sport.
All right, we're here at halftime at Buffalo, Wild Wings, and Seattle is acting a goddamn fool. I need this quarterback to do some stuff. But anyway, I digress. Hey, I'm here with Tim, and I want to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how prepared are you for a typhoon in California?
Probably an 8.
An 8. How are you an 8?
Water, food, all that stuff is in the pantry, ready to go. Grab it, load it in the truck, and gotta run. I'm from the Midwest. I'm used to tornadoes, rainstorms, snowstorms, no power.
All right, there you have it. He's an 8. All right.
So back in May, there was a fire in San Marcos. Actually, I didn't know that there was a fire in San Marcos. There was actually a fire in Carlsbad to the west of my home, and also in Escondido to the east of my home. So it was actually a work day, so I asked the commander if I could go home early to go check on my family, not knowing that there would be a fire in my own neighborhood, but just out of concern. I got a text message from CW2 Chavez saying, hey, I think there's a fire in your neighborhood. So I actually went on my balcony, I saw black smoke, and my wife and my child were actually taking a nap upstairs. So I went upstairs and told them to get ready, and we hastily left our home. Actually, we had emergency bags ready. We had prepared for that before, but when we saw the smoke of the fire, we actually just left. My advice to those of you that have preparedness kits ready, don't just have the kit ready, have a plan to evacuate your home.
So by now, hopefully you've had the chance to get to know Disaster a little better. And take it from me, it's better to get to know him now than when he shows up ready for a fight. So before the bell rings, let's review a few simple steps you can take to be ready. The biggest blow you can land on Disaster is have an emergency plan. Talk about your plan with your family, your extended relatives, and your neighbors. The more people in your corner, the better. Second, have an emergency kit in place with everything you need for the safety and comfort of your family for the first 72 hours after the big fight. You want to include water, food, flashlights with extra batteries, a battery-powered all-hazards radio, and important papers like copies of birth certificates, insurance, and important contact numbers. And third, stay informed. Know everything you can about your opponent. Know when he's coming and what he has in store. And know how to dodge his biggest punches. So, know when to stay close and take cover, and know when, where, and how to evacuate. Hey, Disaster's got some moves we've seen before. But some, we haven't. Hey, you wouldn't go into the fight of your life without training. So you wouldn't climb into the ring with Disaster without preparing. Because even though you've got a lot of people in your corner, once that bell rings, you're on your own. Okay, let's go. Go get him! You may think that Disaster is never coming, or that if he does, there's nothing you can do. And that might be all the opening that he needs for a knockout punch. So, get your guard up now. Make a kit, have a plan, and stay informed. It's inevitable. Disaster will be bringing the fight to you. So the only question is, how will you fight back? Go to preparemetrokc.org now to put together your fight plan. A little preparedness now can put Disaster out for the count.
Make a kit, make a plan, stay informed.